Well, today is going to be a little bit different than other shows that I've done in that I have interviewed a lot of nonfiction authors. Rarely, if ever, I can't even remember if I've ever interviewed a fiction author because you just don't find fiction vegan authors who are writing about a vegan theme. And that's what we're going to talk about today. My guest today is Maya Cohen-Ronen, and I'm just going to call her Maya from here on out. But she is the author of a trilogy series, and it's all based on compassion to animals, and it's about the vegan lifestyle. So with that, Maya, great to have you here.
Welcome to the Vegan Visibility Podcast Show, where your host, Kathleen Gage, shines the spotlight on vegan and plant-based businesses and entrepreneurs from all walks of life committed to cruelty-free eating, healthy lifestyles, animal compassion, and the environment. Enjoy the show.
I'm so honored. Thank you for having me.
You betcha. So let's start with this is actually the Vegan Visibility Show that I have you on. I have two shows. One is Plant-Based Eating for Health. The other is Vegan Visibility, and it's really targeting those people who write books. It's business owners, professionals. And again, you've done something that's really unique. You have written a series of books that are all fiction, and they're all based on the vegan lifestyle. When did you first become vegan?
I turned vegan in 2012, so that would be 10 years now. I think it was a moment. It was a watershed moment, of course, for me, was the dairy industry, finding out about the dairy industry. But I think to do it justice, it wasn't just a big bang. There were events in my life, obviously, that led me to that moment that I can only judge now, looking back. At the time, I didn't realize that all these little moments in my life will lead me to going vegan. But I think certainly they had impact on me that if you connect all the dots, it will lead you to the time when I discovered the truth about the dairy industry and decided to go vegan. And when I decided to go vegan, it was overnight. No baby steps. I was so shocked and horrified by what I found. And one of the reasons I think that I was so horrified is that the nearest breadcrumb event in my life, the nearest one was having a baby myself. I was a mother of probably a 2 months old baby, my daughter, and the thought that someone might one day just decide to take her away from me just because they covet my breast milk was inconceivable to me. Because, it's the most precious gift that you can have. And someone just designs it in a way that the child will be taken away and you will become a product yourself, one day to be slaughtered yourself, but a product. When I realized what was going on, it was really shattering moment. Right. And I didn't know. I was not spring chicken, but I really didn't know. I thought the cows give us milk. I thought cows always have milk. It's just I don't know how I could.
Yeah, and I really hope people let that sink in, because the way you presented it is that you really had so much empathy for what the mama cow goes through when her baby is literally stripped away. And I really want that to sink in for people, because so often we kind of deny the truth and we go, oh, I don't want to hear about it, because if I hear about it, I have to do something about it. And that's the idea, which really has sparked you to be an activist in a very unique way, which is through your writing. But when you said that, it really, I could feel that pain and suffering that you were feeling in that moment. But the cows, their babies are stripped from them, and I think the more that we learn about this, the more that we want to do. And like you, I really didn't know. I was just blissfully ignorant is the way I describe it. But now that I know, there's no going back. So you said there were a few things that led up to the point where you had your watershed moment. What were some of those things that happened? your 2-month-old baby, having that empathy. What else?
The other one also relates to a maternal moment in my life, because 5 years before I had my daughter, I lost a baby through pregnancy. I was pretty advanced in my pregnancy, and I wanted the baby very much, and I lost it. So that was a tragedy for me, a very tragic moment. I was quite honestly, I was depressed, and it took a lot of effort and will to get over it and look forward and be positive and think one day, I will have a baby, another baby, because I had my son as well already. The loss was huge. The grief I felt was immense. And so I think the meeting of the grief with the utter joy of having my 2 months daughter, that connection, it is really, and then finding out about the dairy industry I have experienced both ends of it.
Right.
I have experienced the utter loss and tragic, personal tragedy, and then I felt the utmost joy.
Right.
And this is really what we are putting cows through when we take the cows who already had a child before, a baby. They still feel so much compassion and joy towards a new calf when they're born. They never, only maybe very tired, spent cows would turn their backs on a new baby knowing what's going to happen. But most commonly, they will still lick the young and care for them and show love and immense grief when their baby is taken.
Right.
So I think that sorrow and joy meet, and then learning about what we're doing to the cows, which is so similar to my own experience, and having that realization that here I am with my miracle baby with me, and I'm drinking, coffee with milk, and I am contributing, I'm causing this to happen to someone else. I just couldn't live with it.
Well, and and the grief, that's natural. I mean, I think sometimes we try to downplay what are natural emotions, and to lose something so precious that we're going to go into a depression, and to think that that's what the animals go through over and over, and that's the energy that people put into their bodies. When you look at the amount of depression that's going on in the world, anger, violence, all of that it's contained within the meat and the fish and the dairy that people consume. And it's amazing that the food manufacturers don't want us to connect the dots. But once we start connecting the dots, it's like, I think that's why a lot of us get very outspoken in our own way, whatever we do. I happen to be a podcaster. That's what I do. You're an author. That's what you do. And yet we do other things. And I'm curious, when you started discovering what was going on with the dairy industry, how did you find out? It's like you obviously had quite an epiphany and an opening, but was it a documentary? Was it a book? Was it somebody talking to you? What was the catalyst there?
Well, my son was born in 2004, before the tragedy and the joy. So he's my firstborn, and I love him to bits. And he, at the age of 3, started developing a real interest in sharks. So through his eyes, I developed a fascination with sharks, because I really didn't know much about it at all. And through this fascination with sharks, we discovered all sorts of organizations that work for the conservation of the oceans, and one of them is Sea Shepherd.
Yes.
And back in 2012, after my daughter was born, I saw that one of their ships, they were having a campaign in the Southern Ocean and Southern Sea against the whaling, and they were coming to dock either before or after in Wellington, which is where I'm from, Wellington, New Zealand. And the captain was there, everyone. It was really such an event. So I remember just Googling about Sea Shepherd to learn about them a little bit more. And I saw somewhere that it said that the Sea Shepherd ships are purely vegan. So if you go on the ship, if you want to join and volunteer in one of their missions, you have to adhere to a vegan lifestyle. And it surprised me. I didn't know why. I couldn't explain why it was, because in my mind, veganism was a bit extreme, and something that why would you do it? I mean, isn't it enough that I want to go and save whales? And I had to find out, because I thought, if they do it, there must be something in it that was important. And I started digging into it, and I saw quite a lot of information. I found quite a lot of information about dairy, because, I know that slaughter is not, it's not a kind thing to do. Eating meat, I understood already in the back of my mind that it wasn't a kind thing to do, but I really didn't know anything about dairy. And I saw videos, I saw a lot of documentaries, and I read a lot of material, and suddenly I think that it washed over me what was going on in the dairy industry, and that was the watershed moment. So all the breadcrumbs that were leading to it, and then actually finding out the truth. And the thing is, like you say, we are being gaslit by the industries, because the information is there. The information is there. If you want to reach to seek and find the information, it's there. But you really need to actively look for it. It's not on it's not on your magazines. It's not on the internet. It's not on the television. It's not on the commercials. What you see is a happy cow, and cows give us milk, and how wonderful and natural it is. Look at the cows roaming the green hills of New Zealand, clean green New Zealand. It's beautiful, isn't it? And just discovering the truth, in New Zealand, we send about 2 million calves a year to be slaughtered. That's 2 million calves, just the babies, every year. It's astounding. And at the age of 4 days old, they're 4 days old when we send them, because there's so many of them. We have nothing to do with them. So they're just sent to slaughter. They can barely stand. So I think finding all that, knowing what you already know about what I've been through in my life, that was it.
Right. Well, and it's so amazing, because once we start finding out, again, we can't go back. I mean, I think if we have any kind of empathy, we go deeper into being vegans rather than going back. And then we're dealing with the people who are saying you're being so extreme, and it's like compassion is extreme, which actually leads to the next area that I really want to focus on, which is your writing. But before we do, I'd love for you to tell people where they can find your information. What is your web address? And what's the easiest way to find you?
Absolutely. My web address is the first stop if you want to find out more about me and about the books. So it's mcronenauthor.com, mcronenauthor.com, because I write under the pen name MC Ronen. I have a quick show.
Oh, wonderful. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Very good.
That's the first book, The Shed. So MC Ronen. So just mcronenauthor.com. All the information is there, and all the links and Amazon and everywhere. It's all there.
Perfect. We'll make sure to put that in the show notes. So now let's pivot into how you became an activist through your writing and through fiction writing. What was the catalyst for you there?
I was always a reader. Since I was a kid. I loved books, and I love fiction. I love to read thrillers and detective books and whodunit, things like that. I like a fast-paced, page-turning books, kind of get my heart racing a little bit, guessing what's going to happen, cliffhangers and all that. That's me. I don't have a very sophisticated taste of reading, but I love it. I love those kind of books. And I discovered, since going vegan, that I enjoyed reading less and less, because I found that books, almost consistently, had one of these three issues, but most likely all three, probably mostly, is speciesism. Now, speciesism, for those who don't know what speciesism is, think about racism in terms of race. Think about sexism in terms of gender. Speciesism is in my own words, it's the perceived human supremacy over other species.
Mm-hmm.
And that perceived supremacy, because it's not a real supremacy, this perceived supremacy also gives us the right, so to speak, to value grade other species. So according to us, dogs are to be loved and cared for by the Western society, loved and cared for and being protected, but pigs and cows and sheep, it's okay to eat and kill and whatever. And that's speciesism. A lot of books are suffering from that because, even you have a protagonist. And the thing about reading a book is that you follow the lead character and you really want to identify with them. You really want to bond with them, to have that emotional connection with them. And then you start developing that. And within a few chapters or even a few pages, they start eating bacon, or eat a bacon and then give the dogs whom they really love a sausage, or they go hunting. Hunting, I would actually put under the second category, which is blatant animal cruelty. So that's kind of a layer on top of speciesism. You have to have speciesism to have animal cruelty. But the protagonist who goes on a hunt, she hunts I don't know, in the forests, and sometimes the hunter would have a dog who would assist them. The dog, again, lovable, but the deer that we hunt, not so much. And the third thing that is more recent is the anti-vegan sentiment, and you don't find it a lot, but you find it more. That's the taking the least likable character of your book and making them vegan.
Wow.
That's the the mostly women, very exaggerated characters, and
right.
The vegan character. So all these three, and it's really hard to just read a book without facing one of these, or at least two of the three. And I just started to feel like I'm not enjoying reading anymore. So I thought, if it doesn't exist, I'll write it myself.
I love that.
I always written. I actually I had written a manuscript before. I just didn't think it was very good, and it wasn't about veganism. It was my pre-vegan days, and it's still in the drawer somewhere, gathering dust. But now I really had an incentive to write, because I wasn't writing for me. I was writing for the animals, and that gave me such a drive to put a book. Firstly, I wanted to write a book for vegans, so it won't have speciesism, and it won't have animal cruelty, and it won't have anti-vegan sentiments, obviously, so that it would be very safe for vegans to read. But I thought, let's take it a step further. I can write a book that will have all that for vegans, but we can use it as an outreach. So a book that will be fun and fast-paced and page-turning and exciting and a thrilling story that non-vegans, or pre-vegans, as I prefer to call them, would read them enthusiastically, because the story is great, but then they will also absorb the message. And the message will be very clear. Vegan animal rights message is very clear. And hence came the first book, The Shed. I didn't plan to write a trilogy in the beginning, just the one book.
That's incredible. I really get that you're very empathetic. You really have, like, you wear your feelings on your sleeve, I would say. It's like you really feel what animals are going through, what people are going through, and the whole anti-vegan sentiment. I never really thought about that, but you're right. Now that I think about it, with the different shows, they kind of poke fun at the vegans, and like we're the odd ones in the group. And hopefully there will come a day that the carnivores will be the odd ones in the group, just like smokers, But with your whole process of writing, When you first decided to write The Shed, what was your process for writing? Because we do get a lot of authors that listen to this show, and we get a lot of vegan authors. And I know you know Matali, the vegan publisher. So, we're surrounded with a lot of people who want to write, and they want to write vegan-themed books. So what was your whole process with writing The Shed?
My process personally is always to incubate the story as long as I can inside my mind, inside my head, and really try to nut out the complete story before I start writing, so that when it's ready, I open my laptop and I start typing, and I can type day and night until it's all down. I'm downloading rather than thinking, because all the thinking has already been done, and I have I have a plan. So I do plan, and I have a plan and a skeleton for the story, but then I just download the story. The Shed, because it was the first, and I was just thinking about it. I think it took me about 2 years to really gnat the whole thing out in my head. So I probably started to think about it in 2014, but I haven't started downloading it for my mind until 2016, somewhere there. And I really wanted to write something that I was thinking about George Orwell's Animal Farm. I really love in Animal Farm how he used the pigs, Napoleon and such, to tell a story about the human nature. So the pigs tell I think it was an anti-Stalinist book, I believe, in the 50s, and he used the pigs and the other farmed animals to describe that human nature. So I decided to use humans to describe about the human nature towards animals, but the humans to represent animals rather than animals to represent humans. So I kind of turned it over on its head. So in my book, we have humans who are farming other humans in the same way that we are farming animals today. It's a dystopian thriller. So in my book, there are no animals, but human greed and all the negativity remains. So in order to reach food, dairy, all those things, wool, clothing, whatever it is, and entertainment, the humans use other humans. And so my protagonist is a human who was bred for dairy. And I won't give up more because I don't want to ruin it for you.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. Now, okay, so The Shed was written. When did you get the idea for the second book? And how long did that one take you?
Yeah, I didn't plan to write a trilogy. I wrote The Shed. It doesn't end up with a cliffhanger, but it kind of, the ending of The Shed sort of begs to be continued. I understand that. And what really surprised me was that people started to contact me and ask for the rest of it. Where is you have to write more, because people really wanted to know how the story develops. And because of that, I decided to keep writing. And so the next book, Liberation, it came out about 18 months after The Shed. So this one took less time to write, because I already knew where I want to take the story. I wanted to develop it beyond dairy and all that. I wanted to tell more stories about more industries. And also to put the focus on activists, because I am myself also an animal rights activist, not only through my writing. I'm actually an activist on the streets. So it was important to me to represent activism. And then after the Liberation was out in February 2020, just with the coronavirus, kind of simultaneously. Again, people started to ask me about the third, because I didn't end it. The story didn't end. I left my protagonist in a very good position so that a keen reader would be able to, think about, oh, I bet she's going to do this and that. But I didn't end it with a catharsis. Sorry, those are my dogs.
Your
didn't
dogs
end
are
it with
welcome to come into the interview.
they're talking with the other dogs in the neighborhood at the moment. So yeah, I didn't end the story with a catharsis on the second book, and people wanted the catharsis. People want a good ending. People want a bang. People want something, end it with a bang. And so I found that, okay, I have to write a trilogy, because I was like, no, everyone writes a trilogy. I'm going to just have two. But it doesn't work like that, because you have your reader and your loyal readers, and my readers, I love them, and they really wanted to see how the story ends. And so the last book of the trilogy, called It Was in Our Hands, it came out in July 2021. Yeah.
And I would imagine that you have a fan club, but you have a following, you have people that are waiting for that next book. How do you keep in touch with the people who they love your writing, they want more of you? What are some of the things besides doing podcast interviews? What are some of the other things that you do? Social media. And the reason I ask is for a couple of reasons. I want people to be able to find you, but then for those authors who, whether they're fiction or nonfiction authors, that are vegan, that really want to get their message out, and a lot of them don't know how to do that. What are you doing so that people can find you, they can find your books, they can find your message?
I have to say that when I published The Shed, I didn't know anything about marketing or getting in touch with readers or anything like that. So for me, a lot of what I'm doing now was playing catch up, and partly this catch up that I played, that I think I probably caught up by now, but before was thanks to you, Kathleen, and other amazing people that you mentioned, Mitali, and there's also Katrina Fox and other
Absolutely.
people who really taught me so much. And I try to implement everything that I learned. So now I actually do have a mailing list, which I really do encourage everyone who loves the books or is interested about my writing to join, because I don't, send a lot, but I do send some information about what's coming. And trust me, there's a lot coming. Lots. So very exciting news coming up in the next few months. So if you really want to know what's coming up, please join my mailing list.
How?
Through my website. So if you go to my website, there should be a pop-up to put your details, and if it doesn't, just flick me an email through the email links on the website and just ask to be added, and I will add you.
We'll put that in the show notes. We'll make sure that people know how to reach you through the show notes. And there's so much to unwrap here, but one of the things I really want to compliment you on, and I watch people and the growth that they go through. I've been in business for 29 years, and I made a rebranding of my business 2 years ago from a general marketing company to now I work primarily with vegans. And I was warned not to do that. And that was by non-vegans. Oh, no, you're going to kill your business. Well, the pandemic had hit, so I didn't need any help in killing my business. The virus took care of that for a short period of time. And so I really had an opportunity to step back and say, okay, what do I want to do? Do I want to retire? Because I'm definitely at retirement age. Do I want to keep going in my business? If money were not an issue, what would I do? It would be the same thing that I'm doing now. And I thought, okay, I don't have to work, but this is what I want to do. And so I implemented strategies I teach my clients to immediately get name recognition within the vegan industry. And I've watched people come up from behind, and out of nowhere, it seems, all of a sudden you're seeing them everywhere. And you're one of those people. I have to say that I really, really want to acknowledge what you're doing to put your name out to market and doing your activism work, not just the on the street activism, but through your writing, because you're an inspiration for other people who have the dream of getting their message out through their book. So I really want to acknowledge that. Katrina, she's been around forever and a day. She's like one of the old timers in the community. There's Mitali, who, kind of came out of nowhere about 2 years ago. Sandra Namoto, and all authors, which is really amazing. So what would you say to people that they're thinking of writing a book, but they're like, oh, it's going to take so long, or I don't know what to do? What's your words of wisdom that you can give them?
It takes as long as it takes, but one day it will come out. And I really want to tell writers or, not even only writers, but anyone who is doing art or has a skill or a talent that they want to utilize for the animals, for the vegan message, just do it, because I wasn't an overnight success. I had to work really, really hard and really pave my way slowly towards expanding and getting people to read me and getting to be invited on this amazing podcast. Just do it. And you have to put yourself out there. Believe in yourself. If you produce something that is of good quality, that is genuine and has the right kind of message of empathy and compassion, and it brings out the right kind of message, people will notice. You need to put a lot of hard work behind it. There's no escaping it. It's not going to just happen. It is not going to just happen. It's a lot of work. But if you are ready to do it, then, the sky's the limit. Just do it. Believe in yourself and push on.
I appreciate that you said that it takes a lot of hard work, because so often people, they'll look at somebody who is succeeding at whatever their chosen endeavor is, and they go, oh, you're so lucky. And it's like, well, luck had a little bit to do with it, but the harder I worked, the luckier I got. So thank you for saying that. And in closing, what is something that you need that the listeners and viewers of this show could do to really help you to escalate what you're doing and get your message out in a bigger way? If you could ask for anything, what would your ask be?
I think twofold. First, please, read the books. I think I understand that this is not a book for vegans. This is a book for everyone. So please share them. They would make an excellent gift. Birthday, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever. It will make a brilliant gift for everyone, not just vegans. And secondly, if you know someone in Hollywood, tell them to contact me. One of the things people keep telling me is these books will make amazing movies, and I do agree. So one day it will happen. But if you're listening and you are a producer,
I love that. And I'll tell you why. I used to do pre-coronavirus. I actually was a keynote speaker where I traveled a lot. And one of the things that I would tell audiences is if you don't let people know what you want, they can't help you. And so we would do an exercise. If I was doing a training, we'd do an exercise where I would say, okay, I want you to think about one thing that you want. And if you could ask for anything, what would it be? And so people would write it down. And then I'd say, okay, I need a handful of volunteers. A few people would raise their hand. I'd say, okay, stand up and tell people what you want. And inevitably, somebody in the audience could help them with what they wanted. It wasn't maybe directly, but, oh, I know somebody who knows somebody. So the fact that you put that out there, the first thought that came to me is Joaquin Phoenix. I mean, why not? He's just such an activist, and he is a great actor, and he knows people who knows people. And, I actually have met a few people who've done documentaries, and I could ask them and say, okay, how can we help Maya? What can we do? So I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show. You've been delightful. I wish you so much success, and just keep being your amazing self, your empathetic self, because it's your empathy that is driving your mission in life. And one of the things I encourage people who are listening and watching to do is to think about the animals. Go beyond yourself. It's not about us anymore. It's about the animals. It's about the environment. It's about truly being a healthy, healed planet. This is Kathleen Gage with Vegan Visibility. MC Roan, it has been delightful, and I look forward to seeing more great things from you. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.
You've been listening to the Vegan Visibility Podcast Show. Be sure to subscribe to get notified when the next episode is live. And we always appreciate reviews. Join us next time for more inspiration, education, and motivation to build your business one cruelty-free and healthy person at a time.